Speaking on behalf of over 120,000 union members in the West Central Florida Federation of Labor, AFL-CIO. There is so much to be disappointed about and angry from the recent session in Tallahassee. The reduction of the school budgets, the Florida Voter Suppression Act of 2011, the assault on a woman's right to choose, the racial profiling bill, and much more bad legislation that we now all have to live with. But here's a message for the governor and all of his pals. We're not going away. You've probably heard about the plan for education called Race to the Top. You know that's where school districts receive a sign-on for a plan that costs more to implement, than it receives. Meanwhile, Governor Scott and his cronies are taking funding away from the schools. They're shifting costs to the counties. That's a neat trick. They balance the state budget by shifting the costs to the counties. We used to call that bait and switch. Governor Scott thinks it's a sound business practice. That's the plan he's using right now to drive down the standard of living in this state by cutting wages and benefits for all hardworking Floridians. He shifts the costs off of business and onto the backs of us, the working men and women of the state of Florida. The requirement to make public employees pay 3% of their wages toward retirement. Workers are losing 3% of their paycheck and 3% of employer-paid benefits. That's not a 3% cut, folks. That's a 6% cut. And that's on top of state workers who haven't had a raise in 5 years. Now we hear that somehow union workers, particularly public union workers, have something that other workers don't have. And Rick Scott and his friends want to take it away. Listen closely to their arguments, though. They say that union members have special privileges that are unfair. Really? Unfair to whom? It certainly can't be Florida's working men and women that are hurt by unions, can it? Since when does taking something away from one group of people make another group better? Scott and the corporations he fronts don't want to bring everybody up. They want to move everybody down in a race to the bottom. Rick Scott and the others like him want you to believe that others, those others, they, them, they are the problem. Think about where that flawed view will lead Florida and our country. Think about its place in history. I am proud to be a union member. Unions have led the fight for better wages, better working conditions, better workplace safety, better health care, better and more secure retirement. Because of that, all Americans have a better standard of living. And we are not going away. No! Thanks to unions, it's harder for an employer to pit workers against each other in a fight for the leanest scrap. Thanks to unions, it's harder for employers to fire older, more experienced workers simply because younger workers are cheaper. Thanks to unions, employers can't fire somebody for being pregnant. You know, they used to get away with that. So employers don't like unions because when unions win, everybody wins. Well, except CEOs, investment bankers. You know those guys who are supposed to be providing us all of the jobs? Well, I have a question for you, Governor Scott. Where are the jobs? You gave away billions in federal rail funds and evaporated thousands of good-paying Floridian jobs. Did it ever occur to you, Governor Scott, did it ever occur to you that those tax dollars, a good part of those tax dollars were Floridian dollars? You've taken those dollars and given them to other states. We want our jobs back. You and your allies in the legislature are not representing us by balancing Florida's budget on the backs of the middle class. We are not going away. Thank you.
Let's hear it from